Welcome to Session 2 of Medallion Mastery. In this video, we're going to discuss, are all stripes really created equally? Delighted to be back with you folks for Session 2. And today I'm going to approach the subject of stripes, and we're going to talk half square triangles as well. But one of the things that comes across quite often, especially when we're working on medallions, is the difference in the stripes available to us in the industry. And they're wide-reaching as far as what they deliver. And in the program, we have so many people working with different stripes that I thought it might be helpful if we took a look at some of the different ways you can deal with your stripe, and perhaps it'll help you choose one based mostly on your color choices and not necessarily on how it's made. So on the table, I have a batch of stripes. And as you look through them, you should be able to spot, oh, I see skinnies, wides, cutting lines, really wide. Look how wide the large one is on this one and the small one versus this one. When it comes time to cut your stripes, the thing that I look for often, and I pulled, these are all stripes that are in past collections of mine, and what I did purposely was pull a couple of very early ones that didn't have cut lines that we now know are incredibly important for you to be able to cut. So as an example, let's look at these two right here. This one has clear cut lines, so when I lay my ruler down, I can cut 1/4 of an inch to the right of a line, 1/4 of an inch to the left of the line. I can spot that. When I look at this one, it is a pure line that changes color. I have to cut 1/4 to the right of that line and 1/4 to the left of that line. Now that's not impossible, but it's a little more difficult. I look at this one, this is a very early stripe, and it has that same situation. Here's the stripe that I'm going to be working with in today's session. And if you look at this, I have two fat lines running here, which gives me, and that's 1 inch wide. So I can cut that guy in half. I can slide in and cut 1/4. However I choose to gives me loads more flexibility on using this stripe. Same thing here. I have a stripe here that's 3/4 wide. Then I have one that's 1 3/4, and then I have one that is 4. That means I have a lot of flexibility when it comes time to work with stripes. And the same is true of this one on the bottom, which I'm going to put up on the wall for you in a sec. This has a 3/4 inch wide skinny, then it has another 2.5, and then it has a 6. A lot of times you're going to be working with a pattern that might tell you to cut your small stripe a set size. Let's say your piece isn't that. It doesn't mean I can't cut to the outside of those lines. So when it comes to working with a stripe, mostly they're going to be used for borders. Occasionally they're chopped up, but for the most part, it's going to be your borders. Be flexible in your choosing and know that just because the main part of this fabric is a set 7 or 8 inches wide doesn't mean I can't trim it down. I will cut what I need, and again, let's say you're working with a pattern that says use this size and you go, I don't have that size. You can trim it out to that size, or if you're unwilling to do that, you may have to make adjustments on the next border. And that's part of your prerogative as a quilt designer. And yes, all of you out there making quilts are quilt designers. So let's take a look at how I've used them. Now I have a new one on the wall behind me that's overlaid on the blue quilt, which is the main Medallion Mastery quilt. On the table, I have a different one. So let's take a look at this border, which is made out of half square triangles and a flying geese unit. Now, in the previous video, I showed you how to sew flying geese. Half square triangles are fairly simple, regardless of the method you use, whether you cut them with a ruler or traditionally. I'm going to show you what I love about this type of border and how I can maneuver it to get a totally different look. Now, previously I showed you this little stripe that I had cut out of my repeating stripe. So this is one that I have already added. So from session 1, which stopped right here, I've added a skinny of my background and I've added a skinny stripe. I put cornerstones on this skinny stripe, which when it came time to put my half square triangle border down, I picked the busiest fabric known to mankind, folks. This is an early version of a crazy patch, and it's multicolored. It has all the colors that live in my center unit. And I just decided I wanted it busy. And I get away with it, I think, because my border is black or dark. So it's kind of absorbs that a little bit. You can't get too busy for me, so I love this. But what I want to show you is this is how in the blue quilt I sewed this with my dark in. And on the quilt top behind me, the new coloring, I sewed it the same way. But I want you to look at what would happen. I could easily put my light in on both sides, and let's just do that and look at it. If I were going to do that, I'd make sure that cornerstone was not that same fabric. So I would have put a darker cornerstone in like that. I would have done something that would have made that read a little bit better. Whether I turn it light in or light out, it doesn't make any difference. I am most likely going to adhere to this one because I've already stitched my cornerstones and I like the mirroring of that flying geese sitting here. That's just kind of a clean look. I could easily go in like this and create that kind of a box effect in that corner, which is in the main quilt. I think I'm going to sew it this way. And primarily because I love the way that light moves out, and I will probably continue that as I build out. This is a real simple element to do. I could have left my flying geese unit out and put 2 half squares in there. I could rotate those half squares. And there's probably somebody out there going, well, what size are those, Kaye? I want you to get it in your head that it doesn't matter what size it is, because often I have someone say to me, I don't know how to figure a triangle border. How do I do that? Well, first of all, you just have to remember that, was it 2nd or 3rd or 4th grade that we learned a little bit, our multiplication tables. So let's just say I pick a size. My quilt is 60 inches. I look for a number that divides into 60. 2, 3, what number divides into it? When I find that number, I realize immediately, wow, I'm going to make my half square triangles that size. Then I decide the method I'm going to use to cut them, then I add that number to it, and I get busy. You shouldn't be daunted by changing the sizes of anything. It means if you're following a pattern like those in our Medallion Mastery program, we have given them set sizes to do everything, but certainly they have the flexibility to adjust this border, but they will then have to adjust the next border. So you can't change those sizes without doing a little reconnoitering, I think that's a word. So when you're looking at the triangles, kind of keep that in the back of your mind. On the original quilt, on the blue quilt, I did not use the same background that I used in my center star. On this one, I decided I would. So choices are a good thing. Now, when you look at the quilt behind me, you'll notice it is a busy quilt. When I made the center, I thought, boy, that is busy, Kaye. But I thought when I did my triangle border, what I would do is reduce some of that busyness by keeping a very calm, dark, and light for that border. I think it has helped the quilt. It's still much busier than this one and certainly much busier than the blue one, but I'm making 3 of these, folks. I don't know, I'm gonna have to find friends to give all these quilts to or something. So when you're thinking about your triangle borders, what I would tell you is spend some time doing the math if you want it to look a little bit different than mine. All I've got to do now is to get to my machine, get busy putting this on, and then I am likely going to come back and add this border again as I move around in this. I have choices there, and for those of you who are working on the program, and you go, I didn't find a stripe I liked, Kay, then this is just a fabric. You just have chosen to cut a plain fabric that size, and you're just going to be fine. So if you like what we're doing here, we'd love it if you would like, share, and then if you hit that little button, you know, it subscribes and it tells you when that video is going to appear. Typically, they're going to appear every Saturday, but the exact time, we don't know, so you're just going to have to look for it. But if you subscribe, you'll know when it's going to be there, and you won't have to worry about that. So, I think that's it, folks. Be sure and say howdy, and we'll see you on the next video. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Are all stripes created equally? Are all stripes? Let's face it, folks, are all stripes created equal?